Welcome back. We're learning about all the things an author has to do to write a good story. So far, we've learned that authors have to have a big imagination to think up their ideas. Did you think of some other things an author has to think about? Here's a few things from my list. Number 1, characters. Before an author can write a story, they have to think of a really good character. Now that part was easy for me because my dad was the main character. But there are lots of different types of characters in a story. There are the good guys like Georgie, and sometimes there's a villain. There might be sidekicks, friends of the main character, or minions that work for the villain. Creating characters is a big part of an author's job. Number 2, setting. Do you know what setting is? That's where the story takes place. Now, Georgie's story takes place in Pennsylvania in the 1920s. So you'll notice there are no televisions or computers or dishwashers. They didn't even have electricity. Setting is really important because it sets the backdrop for the whole story. Number 3, titles. Titles say a lot about a story. Let's take a look at Georgie's books. Notice that all the titles have the word thief in them. That helps the reader know that the books are all in the same series. What else can you see on the covers that connects them? Do you see how Georgie is in the same place on every cover? And he's wearing the exact same thing, except for the Santa thief, where he has a Santa hat. So, why do you suppose he always wears the same clothes? Well, my dad was very poor growing up in the 1920s, and he told me he only had one good shirt. This next thing is really fun. Do you see it? Right here, you can see Georgie is holding an armful of coal. And here, circus balls. Here, Christmas ornaments. And here, eggs. Covers are a big part of what draws the reader in and makes them want to read the story. Now, this next part is really important. It's the super secret ingredient to writing a great story. Would you like to know what it is? Great. I'll teach it to you by telling you the egg thief again, only this time I'm going to leave out the secret ingredient. Here we go. One morning, Georgie went out into the barn to collect eggs. He went to the first hen, and do you know what? There were 3 eggs. He went to the next hen, and do you know what? There were 4 eggs. He went on down the line, filling his basket until it was full. Then he went back inside and had breakfast. The end. Now, is that a good story? Not really. It's kind of boring and nothing much happens. So let's look at the real egg thief. One morning, Georgie goes out to the barn to collect the eggs and, there are no eggs. Then, all of a sudden, there's a giant wolf lurking in the corner. Only it's just a dog who's eaten all of his eggs. Now, what does Georgie have that he didn't have before? No eggs, right? No, what I mean is Georgie has a problem. His mom has sent him to do his chores, and if he returns empty-handed, she'll think he dodged his chores. Now, he could tell his mom the dog ate them, but why doesn't he do that? Because she'll be mad at the dog and send him away, and I think Georgie likes the idea of having a dog. So Georgie has to find a way to get some eggs. In other words, Georgie has to find a way to solve his problem. And that is how authors tell great stories, by coming up with a character we think you will like, give him or her a problem, and then figure out a way for the problem to get solved. So, if someone were to ask you what a book is, you could tell them it's simple. It's just a story about a character that has a problem and has to solve it. Now that you know all the secrets on how authors make a great story, I have a big question for you. Is reading easy or hard? For some of you, it might be easy, and others might still be learning. But I know the secret to becoming the world's greatest reader. Would you like to know it? Excellent. Did you know reading is just like soccer? Let me explain. Look at me try to play soccer. Do you think I'm any good? No, I'm not. But it's because I don't practice. But if I were to practice a little bit every day, for a week, for a month, for 3 months, would I get better? I would. Now let's say I practice so much that I become the world's greatest soccer player. And I say to my coach, "Coach, I'm the greatest soccer player in the world. I don't need to practice." Well, what's going to happen to my soccer skills? Well, that's right. As soon as I stop practicing, I'm going to forget a little. And pretty soon, I might not be on the team. And reading is the same way. The only way to get better at reading is to practice. So if you think reading is hard, I'm here to tell you, if you're to practice a little bit every day, say 15 minutes, at the end of the week, you'll be a better reader. And at the end of a month, you'll be flying through the pages. But some of you are thinking, I'm already a good reader. And that's great. But you still have to practice, right? Because every year, the books get harder and longer. But in order to practice, you need a lot of books. And I know a magical place you can go where the books are free. Free! That's right. Do you know what this place is called? The library. So you have no excuse not to always have a book in the car, on the bus, next to your bed, and always be reading every day, because reading is a superpower. You know why I think that? Because when you read, your imagination can take you anywhere. You can imagine what it's like to be a boy in the 1920s, or a knight facing down a dragon, or maybe a witch with magical powers. Books teach us how to use our imagination, to learn about new places, meet new people, and to think of new ideas. I hope you've enjoyed this video series, and I look forward to seeing you soon.